Tosh Talks. I am Tosh. I am talking to you. And I am the book buyer at Book Soup, a bookstore on Sunset Boulevard, 8818 Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. And I buy books for Book Soup. That's my job. I've been doing it for a while now. I hope you like it. I hope you like this show. I can't guarantee anything because I can't guarantee things on a daily basis because I can promise you I'll do my best. But what happens afterwards is a total adventure. You take that one leap and you don't know what's going to happen. And I sort of buy books for the store that way. I take the leap, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. But with this show, I try to at least express why I do certain things. And if you're a long-time follower of Tosh Talks, you know I have sort of an obsession about British pop culture of all sorts. And I'm very fascinated with England before the Beatles hit. That's my first introduction to England. As a child, the Beatles equals England. And that is my England. Of course, as I got older, I realized there's other things in England, like Churchill, World War II, World War I. But my introduction to England was, of course, English rock and roll, the British invasion. But many years later, as a young adult, I've realized that England has a very fascinating post-war years, the 50s. And since I was a big British invasion music fan, like the Kinks, the Who, Beatles, Stones, the 50s was the era that defined these ladies and gentlemen in the music world at the time, of the 60s, to be specific. And I just came upon this book. We just got this in recently. It's called The Lost Album, A Visual History of 1950s Britain. And it's put together by a photographer by the name of Basil Hyman. And this is, I saw this book and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, this is fascinating. You can't see, but these things are separate. Like, if I put my hand here, there's actually a little booklet here. So what you get here is you get the title here, you get a ticket here to Royal Albert Hall, and here's like motor fuel gas ration book, because at the time England was totally at ration everything, ration food, ration gas, all that stuff. So here you get like a little book of tickets, ration gas tickets, coupons. So you have to have this coupon to get gas for your car. And so the photographer put together this book. It's a collection of his photography of the time period, the 1950s. But it's also a lot of pamphlets and little booklets and advertisement and stuff. So what I'm getting here is really a visual memoir of this particular person, but at a very specific time, the 50s, and very specifically in the United Kingdom. Not London, I believe. I mean, it might be London, but I'm getting a stronger, England, United Kingdom, everywhere. And you get stuff like, a very sort of personal layout of his dark room area where he worked. And I never, ever heard of this photographer. And this is actually a portrait of him, the photographer, a self-portrait as well of his mother. It's kind of sweet. And it's almost very factual. It's very in-your-face factual. And of course, he had his photographic blue book, sort of like instruction manual, how you use the camera. And the beauty of this is that he writes, his little text with the photographs quite interesting. Here he says, early experiments with portraiture is this very natural shot of the family helps shows. Note the fashion of the time and the large buttons on the jacket. So you can't really see this closely, but here's like a woman, maybe the mom, I'm not sure, with giant buttons on her coat. And it's just very factual and very clear and very kind of like just capturing the moment. And this whole book does that. And with the book, you get this news from photographers, like a little magazine that came out probably like in 1950. And you can see it's like a little magazine with a magazine attached to the book. And this is the actual reproduction of the magazine. This book is $45. What I'm seeing here is like a $100 book. I don't know how they price this, but it's incredible. And the photographer is kind of great because he spent a lot of time just photographing a lot of street scenes at the time. And these photographs in themselves are not great. I mean, I don't think it's like they're great photographs, but it captures a moment at a time. And in the context of this book, it becomes like super special to me. And you know, there's a lot of street scenes here, like the stuff like this. And as you know, I love street scenes in photo books. You've watched the street scenes many times. But again, it's not great photograph, but it sort of captures the drama or the sense of it. And this is like a London pub in the 1950s. Note the formal dress of the children and how the streets are deserted, as well as the old-fashioned, rather cumbersome prom. Public house in those days were places where men rather than women drank, and children had to wait for the adults outside. Gradually, as the decade wore on, it became respectable for women to drink in pubs as well. So basically, you have these well-dressed kids probably waiting for the dad to get out of the pub, and he's probably going to get totally stoned out of his mind when he gets out. But it's kind of interesting. And you know, this is like this guy's childhood, you know, and it's fantastic, and it's and this is a picture of like one of Basil's friends, the photographer, proudly in front of a car built entirely by hand by one of their schoolmasters. And here you get this little nice little roadster car here. You can't really see it that well, but it was made by hand. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, can you actually make a whole car by hand? The English can, I guess. That's remarkable. So the whole car part here, then it goes into car stuff here. You know, all made by hand? I don't know. But here's like all these English cars in one place. The picture of 1950s Britain. It's very exciting. And here you get like interesting like maps here. I mean, one side puts like all these like motoring maps and car manuals on one side. And it's kind of cool because you're getting like what car culture, and you're getting the original. You're getting something personal by his personal photographs. Then on the other side of the page, he photographed the covers of like maps that were used at that time. And he also does stuff like little music stuff. There's like from Disc Magazine, which was like sort of the enemy of its time, little music news here. And it all relates. It's kind of fantastic. And this guy, here's a guy at a pub. I like the way he's dressed. Ascot shorts, jacket, very smart, nice hair. Superb. So it also goes into teenage, in the teenage market. Teenagers started in the 50s. Before the 50s, there were no teenagers. I mean, yeah, you were 13 to 18, but there's no terminology. You're like children or young adults, maybe. But teenage culture, when teenagers actually produced money, bought teenage stuff, so therefore teenagers during the 50s started getting more powerful in a sense, or started getting more voice. Therefore, rock and roll. And these are basically teenagers doing teenage stuff, but this, you know, looks very conservative, but still teenagers doing teenage things. So this book actually chronicles the rise of the teenager, quote unquote. And then you have the South Bank exhibition, London. Here's the program for that, and this still goes on to this day in London. It's quite fascinating, and a series of festivals that happen there. And you know, then he has like a map to a guide to the festival and stuff like that. So you're getting like these personal artifacts of like booklets and stuff, and this kind of great. This is actually really beautiful. This is actually about old London theaters, vaudeville theaters or movie theaters. And here you get, this is like after the war. You know, things didn't get prepared to the 60s, but here's like, you know, a bombed out from the war, bombed out theater, and here's actual like sort of like theater programs or tickets and stuff to this theater. Beautiful. And then here you got like a double shot of the theater, you know, blown out of a portion, gone. But here you have a program here of events that took place in this particular theater. I mean, it's very beautiful. It's very touching and just like exquisite. It must be incredibly nostalgic for a person of that generation from that area, and it's beautiful. It's just fantastic. Here's like actual ticket stubs, and here's the actual theater together. So one is like death and sort of life, like reminds you there was life once in this place here. And the fact that this is dead, and here's a little bit of life that happened, so it's kind of dead. It's actually very kind of prominent, very moving to me. I look at this book, even though I'm not English, I've never been there. I mean, I've been there many times, but it's kind of amazing to see all this. Here's like a cookbook of that time, documented, and here's like a little ration book for food, because the English still had to get tickets to get a certain amount of food that day. fascinating. And one thing I want to show you before we say goodbye is this I love. Basil sneaked his camera into a sort of a cabaret girl show here. And this is a little bit of that. And the beauty of this is that since showing a bit of leg was considered quite daring in the 50s, although now this form of theatrical entertainment seems very old-fashioned and tame, Basil smuggled his camera into this Manchester show. So you get this, okay? You get a shot of them on stage that he used, but then you get this little booklet here, like a little program that was at the actual show. So it's kind of great. Fantastic. All right? Incredible. You know, so you can see it. My hand's in the way. But anyway, this book is not going to last forever like a lot of books. You know, you should get it now. This is my, I mean, the printing job on here is incredible. And, wow, that's just amazing. And so anyway, The Lost Album, A Visual History of 1950s Britain. And back here you get like little booklet. You can actually get this book out if you want to. And it's actually a program from the coronation souvenir when the Queen became a queen in like 1952. So this Basil Hyman's book. It's his photographs plus images and artifacts and stuff from 1950s Britain. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give this book a 12. I mean, it's really a remarkable book, really, really a beautiful book, and I found it fantastic. Anyway, that was Tosh Talks. I'll see you maybe next week. Be around. Take care. Forever. Yours. Bye-bye.